Here we go. Here's a little share button. Let's go and send this out. Send it that way. All right, cool. So basically the way it's going to work is I'm going to go through here on this tablet and take a look at all of these pretty new cards that we're going to be getting, and we're going to talk about them one by one. But I do want to wait a few minutes until people start to like rifle in, and then we will start talking about them. So I think we're going to take a look at the Outlaws cards first, because those are the ones that are going to be coming out most soonly. Real set info. Okay, so that's the symbols look like. Big expansion symbol? What do you mean by big expansion symbol? That just looks like a vault. Interesting. Alright, let's go and drop that back down. Okay. So, hello to anyone that might be stopping in. I've got a few sets here that we're going to be taking a look at. And the first one's going to be Thunder Junction. The first card that we see here is a card called Hell to Pay. So, basically the way this is going to work is I'm going to go through each of the new cards that were revealed at MagicCon in Chicago, and we're going to see what they all are and if any of them are any good. So we're going to start with this card right here. It's called Hell to Pay. It's for a X and red mana. It is a sorcery, and it says Hell to Pay deals X damage to target creature. Create a number of tapped treasure tokens equal to the amount of excess damage dealt to that creature this way. So basically it's like a blaze effect. It can't go face, which kind of makes it bad. But it allows you to set up for like a bigger play on a following turn, because the excess amount of damage that gets blasted into this enemy creature gets transformed into treasure tokens, which can be used as dirty ramp to then maybe put into a better spell to blast your opponent with. So, Hell to Pay, I don't like it. Honestly, I don't like it. And for the express purpose of the fact that it can only hit creatures. It can't hit planeswalkers, you can't blast a battle with it, you can't nuke your opponent's face with it. It's just not good. So, Hell to Pay might see some level of niche play, but with it only being able to hit creatures, I don't see it. It's not that good to me. Scrolling down the list here, it looks like we have a new version of Thoughtseize. Now, you're not going to be able to read this at all because it's going to be kind of flipped, because I'm just showing you this on the tablet in reverse here. But that's the art there for the newest Thoughtseize. So we're getting ourselves a nice little reprint in the next set that's coming out. So, and it is a nice looking Thoughtseize. So I'll read it for you real quick. And it's single black mana, sorcery. Target player reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card, and you lose 2 life. So, awesome card. This card has been well received and played very heavily in almost every format that it's legal in. And it has a little bit of flavor text here. This is the only thing that's new about it. It says, Billy, please don't forget to add the headline before sending for publication again. Clara. So, cute little flavor text there. So, that is another reprint. It's called Crime and Punishment. It is a split card here. One side is crime, the other side is punishment. There's some really, really nice artwork there. I like that a lot. I don't know about the like the frame, like, because like the frame is like supposed to be like an old-timey newspaper, that kind of thing. So it's artistic. I like that they're making like kind of like judgment calls with changing up the art style, and like the art itself is actually really good. But the card itself, crime, the crime portion of it, it's a 3 colorless, a white and a black, and it says put target creature or enchantment card from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. The thing I don't like about this is that you can't target your own graveyard. You have to target your opponent's graveyard, because it specifically reads, from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Not that great. Then punishment side is X mana and then a black and a green. Sorcery. Destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment with mana value X. You see that part much better. That's a fantastic board wipe. I like that a lot. So that is Crime and Punishment. So next up, we have ourselves another new card. This card is called Nexus of Becoming. So I do apologize that I don't really have a really great way to show you these cards like on the screen itself. So I'm kind of having to hold up the tablet for you. But this is called Nexus of Becoming. And basically what this says is it's a artifact for 6 colorless mana. And it says at the beginning of combat on your turn, draw a card. Then you may exile an artifact or creature card from your hand. If you do, create a token that's a copy of the exiled card, except it's a 3/3 golem artifact creature in addition to its other types. So it's a way to get copies of creatures into play. It's a little bit on the slow side though, but I can see this being pretty good in a slower commander deck that wants to make multiple copies of a creature with a very specific effect. Like imagine, for example, you have like 5 Sheldreds on the board at one time just because of some crazy effect like this, making multiple copies of a card. Okay, next up we have now, bear in mind, I was not playing the game when this guy basically took over Standard, but your boy Stupid Sexy OKO is back, and he is still a Planeswalker, so he did not get his spark removed. And this is a new version of OKO. It's called OKO the Ring Leader. It's for 2 colorless, a green, and a blue. Legendary Planeswalker OKO with 3 loyalty. It says, at the beginning of combat on your turn, OKO the Ring Leader becomes a copy of up to 1 target creature you control until end of turn, except he has hexproof. And that's very interesting. So you can put like some crazy creature with a crazy effect onto the table, or just a creature that's just really big and nasty, and have OKO become a copy of that. Pretty interesting. Now, I wonder, it says become a copy of it. Now, does that change his name? Because if it changes his name, then you might not be able to copy legendary creatures with this. You might have to stick to copying non-legendaries. But if he retains his name when he transforms into another creature, then you could say make him another copy of Sheldred, or make him another copy of whatever legendary creature you happen to be building your deck around. So this could be pretty interesting. And that's just a static effect. That's not even taking into account his activated abilities. So his +1 reads, draw 2 cards. If you've committed a crime this turn, discard a card. Otherwise, discard 2 cards. So I haven't seen any of the crime cards from this set, but I'm assuming that's going to be a major plot thread and mechanic for the set. So we'll have to keep our eyes out for what crimes are coming. So, and also bear in mind, this set comes out in April, so we're going to be seeing more of the crimes, the mechanics, all that kind of stuff pretty soon. Okay, after that we have a returning fan favorite. This is Tiny Bones. Isn't he cute? Tiny Bones, the Pickpocket. For only a single black mana, you get a 1/1 with Death Touch. He's a skeleton rogue and a legendary creature. So right off of that, before you even start reading into his text, that's also not too bad. I mean, I would pay 1 mana for a 1/1 with Death Touch. Now, it says, whenever Tiny Bones the Pickpocket deals combat damage to a player, you may cast target non-land permanent card from that player's graveyard, and mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. That's pretty bonkers. That is a crazy ability. For only 1 black mana, you get all of that effect off of just this little silly skeleton man. That's pretty cool. Just imagine the kind of spells you can play off of your opponent, and you can use any mana to cast it. It's any kind of removal, any kind of really powerful draw spell. You can maybe play your opponent's mana ramp spell, or maybe even play their planeswalker out of their graveyard. It's anything that's basically not a land and is a permanent card. You got it. there you go. It's yours now. Not too bad. I like that a lot. That's a very cool card. Now, next up is called the Sword of Wealth and Power. You can kind of see it right there. Very beautiful art on that. I like that art a lot. Now, what the Sword of Wealth and Power does is it's a 3 colorless artifact equipment with an equip cost of 2. So that's the same for all the swords throughout Magic history. All the swords have been like that. And it says, equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from instants and sorceries. Now, this is different from the swords of the past, because all the other swords we'd have like protection from green and black, or protection from red and white, or protection from 2 colors that would kind of like tie into like what the sword is. But this one says protection from instants and sorceries. So basically this says protection from removal is what that says. And whenever an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. When you next cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Now, here's a thing about this card, is like, the way this is worded makes me think a couple things. So it reads, whenever an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. And then there's a period after that statement. So that means that whenever this connects, it just creates a treasure token. The other sentence on here, this sentence that reads, when you next cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Now, does this mean that this only triggers if you have connected with your opponent's face using the sword? Or is it a static ability that just is active at all times? Now, the reason why I think that it's a static ability is because it is separated by a period on these 2 lines of text. But the other part that makes me think that it's not, and that it is only triggered on attack, is because it says when you next cast an instant or sorcery. So that makes me think that all that entire like paragraph of text there means that it will only become active if you hit your opponent, which would make sense. I mean, that's basically how the swords in the past have worked. So I'm thinking that might be how it goes. So also, if you happen to be watching this, and if I'm having any issues with my audio, if you can't hear me clearly, please speak up and let me know so I can correct any issues as I'm talking here. So next up, we have another incarnation of, and I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, but I'm just going to say, that's basically how I pronounce it. So we have Lost on the Range is a 1 colorless and 2 blue mana legendary creature homunculus. Is a 1/1 with ward 2. Already pretty cool. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. Now we're getting cooler. The top card of your library has plot, and the plot cost is equal to its mana cost. Again, we're only seeing snippets of these cards right now, so we don't know what the mechanics do. So as far as plot is concerned, I got no idea. I don't know what plot is. So you may play non-land cards from the top of your library. Oh, you may plot non-land cards from the top of your library. Interesting. So is plot like a plot of land, or is plot like a story plot? I don't know. It's very, very interesting. So far, it is pretty much impossible to kind of like rate or review, because there's no information on what plot is. So we're just gonna have to wait on that. Okay, and then we have the basic land. So like here you have, oh, hang on a second. Boop, 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 boop. Back in here. Lost it for a moment there. Okay, so yeah, and then we have the basic lands. So these are the full art basic lands for the set. Very, very pretty. It's the forest, the mountains, very nice looking. You can kind of see the red mana symbol in that. And then after that is the swamp. Looks very nice as well. And then we have the island. So in some of these, you can kind of see the mana symbol of like what it's representing in each of these. So like in the island there, you can kind of see like that rocky outcropping coming out of the waterfall is displaying like the blue teardrop of blue mana. And then we have the plains. You can kind of see it in the clouds there. It's very nice. The only one you really can't see the mana symbol of. Oh wait, no, you can. It's that forest there. You can absolutely see the forest outline between all of the cactuses. It's kind of like using the negative space between those cacti to create the image of the green mana symbol. It took a moment to actually like realize that once I started looking at it. So pretty cool. Okay, so there you go. That is all of the new cards that we have seen from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. So now we're going to go back, and we're going to go to Modern Horizons 3. So, Modern Horizons 3 is a reprint set, and it is one that is being made for modern players and also for Commander players. So let's take a look at what we have coming to us from Modern Horizons. So first up is Flare of Cultivation. Flare of Cultivation is for 1 colorless and 2 green mana. It's a sorcery that reads, you may sacrifice a non-token green creature rather than pay this card's mana cost. Search your library for 2 basic land cards, reveal those cards, put one of them onto the battlefield tapped, and the other into your hand, and then shuffle. So basically, it's a cultivate that has an alternative casting cost. So if you happen to be playing a deck that runs like a lot of token generators, something like that, you can just toss a token creature, and then just oh wait, no, you can't. It says you have to sacrifice a non-token green creature. So scratch that. You're gonna have to come up with a different game plan when it comes to Flare of Cultivation. Or maybe you want to sacrifice creatures that want to go to the graveyard, and that's not too uncommon. So yeah, it's a cultivate with an alternative casting cost. Alright, next up we have Leia, the Blade Reforged. So I'm just going to show you the art for this real quick. That art is really damn cool. I like that a lot. Some kind of like elemental rock monster. So, Leia, the Blade Reforged, for 2 colors and a red. It is a legendary creature, Spirit Warrior. It is a 2/2 and has haste. And it says, whenever Leia, the Blade Reforged, attacks, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. Whenever 1 or more cards are put into exile from your library and or your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on Leia. So that's not too bad. So it cares about cards going into exile from your library or your graveyard. So you can definitely build around that theme. And it says whenever Blade Reforged attacks, exile to card library. Okay, yeah. So the 2 portions of this card work in tandem to make Leia bigger and also give you a bit of card advantage in the meantime. Okay, after that we have the Priest of Titania. This is an old favorite of mine. I loved Priest of Titania back in Urza's Saga, I believe, is when she originally came out. And it's 1/1 for a colorless and a green. And it says you can tap it and to add 1 green for each elf on the battlefield. So it's not just your elves, it's your opponent's elves as well. So as many elves are on the table, that's how much green mana you get. So not too bad. Very, very cool card. I'm glad to see it reprinted, because not everyone has access to old cards from Urza's Saga. All right, next up we have the Polluted Delta, and it is a land, and it says tap, pay 1 life, sacrifice Polluted Delta, search your library for an island or swamp card, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle. So looks like we are getting the allied fetch lands back, which is very nice. It's been a long time since I've seen these. There's Flooded Strand, Bloodstained Mire, Wooded Foothills, and Woodswept Heath. Very, very nice. And then after that we have Ajani, the Nakatl Pariah. Take a look at that. Very beautiful art on that. I like that a lot. And this one, so 1/2 for colorless and a white, and is a legendary creature cat warrior. It says whenever Ajani, Nakatl Pariah, enters the battlefield, create a 2/1 white cat warrior creature token. Whenever 1 or more other cats you control die, you may exile Ajani, then return him to the battlefield transformed under your control. And he transforms into his planeswalker side. So that's a way to have him pull double duty as a creature, you know. Okay, after that we have the Scurry of Gremlins. This is an interesting card. It's 2 colorless, a red and white enchantment. When Scurry of Gremlins enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 red gremlin creature tokens. Then you get an amount of energy counters equal to the number of creatures you control. So not just the gremlins, but other creatures as well. And it says pay 4 energy. Creatures you control get +1/+1 gain haste until they're. So it's not that crazy of a card, but it is a pretty cool little reprint. I'm sure this is going to be a lot of people that can find a way to make this guy work in their commander or modern decks. This card might be a little bit too slow for modern though, so maybe this is a commander card. Next up we have It That Heralds the End. So for 1 and a colorless, it is a 2/2, and it is an Eldrazi drone. And it says colorless spells you cast with mana value 7 or greater cost 1 less to cast. And other colorless creatures you control get +1/+1. So this guy is an enabler for Eldrazi decks. So it's something you're going to want to cast on in the early turns to help you get to your bigger monsters. And it also grants a little bit of a buff as well. So not too bad. Next up we have the Psychic Frog. The Psychic Frog is a 1/2 frog for a blue and a black that reads, whenever Psychic Frog deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, draw a card. Discard a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Psychic Frog. Exile 3 cards from your graveyard, Psychic Frog gains flying until end of turn. Honestly, this guy's pretty damn cool. I like him a lot. Check this guy out. This is a cute little tree frog. Sucks cards out of your hand. Sucks cards out of the graveyard to give him flying. He's pretty cool. I like him a lot. He's a good little guy. Okay, next up we have Emrakul, the World Anew. Every time I see Emrakul, it gives me hives. It really does. It just takes me back to the whole like Zendikar set and like the big 15/15 Emrakul, and just getting pissed off every time I see it on the other side of the board. I played a lot of Standard during that time period, and I was never not salty whenever I saw Emrakul on the other side of the table. I was not a big fan. So, anyways, what this guy does, 12 mana for 12/12, legendary creature Eldrazi. It says when you cast this spell, gain control of all creatures target player controls. Flying, protection from spells, and from permanents that were cast this turn. When Emrakul the World Anew leaves the battlefield, sacrifice all creatures you control. And it has a madness cost of pay 6 colorless. So you can madness this thing in for 6 mana. Which honestly, that kind of pair pretty well with Mr. Psychic Frog. Discard him to give a +1/+1, madness him in for the 6 mana cost right there, and then boom, you got yourself an Emrakul. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I cannot stand this guy. Okay. And then we have a new artwork for Tomo, the Seasoned Scholar. And that's a very beautiful artwork right there. I like that a lot. Very nice. Okay, so that is all done. So let's go ahead and take a look at another one of the new rounds of spoilers that we've seen so far. So we've taken a look at Outlaws of Thunder Junction, and then we just looked at Modern Horizons 3. Now let's take a look at Bloomburrow. And Bloomburrow is a set that is expected to release in September, so we got a long ways to go until this set comes out. And is a set full of cute little cuddly creatures, like otters. Very cute. Honestly, that art alone is enough to make me want to be excited for this set. Like, that's really nice art right there. So let's read it. So this card is called Bria, the Riptide Rogue. 2 colorless, a blue and a black. A blue and a red, I mean. It's a 3/3 legendary otter rogue. Imagine saying that. So it has prowess, so whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +1/+1. Other creatures you control have prowess, so grants that to everyone on your team. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. That's just cheating. Yeah. That's just cheating right there. If this dude's on the table and you play like another spell that's like 1 mana or 2 mana, you can just say like your biggest guy is suddenly not blockable anymore. Yeah, that's just cheating in my book. Next up we have I do not know how to pronounce this, so I'm going to do my best. It is this little fella right here is a rabbit, and his name is spelled B-Y-R-K-E, so I'm going to call him Burke. So this is Burke, the Long Ear of the Law. It's a legendary creature, Rabbit Soldier. It's a 4/4 with Vigilance. When Burke, Long Ear of the Law enters, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Okay, that's pretty cool. And then whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it attacks, double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. So the thing with this is like this is kind of doing something that like another creature's already doing. I think it's I can't remember the name. It was a green white cat creature from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, and it did something very similar to this. But that creature only had a casting cost of 4. This guy has a casting cost of 6, which means this guy is going to be very difficult to cast. I don't foresee this being a splash in standard. Now, slower strategies, like say maybe Commander, this might be what you're looking for. But for me, I don't think I would ever cast this. Next up, we have Luma, Bellow of the Woods. Take a look at that. Take a look at that art. That is just gorgeous. Look at that big nasty bear. That's so cool looking. So this is Luma, Bellow of the Woods. For 4 colorless and 2 green, is a star elemental bear with vigilance and reach. Luma, Bellow of the Woods' power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. When Luma enters, mill 4 cards, then return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. That's a very powerful ability. Just the fact that like her power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control, and then it will mill 4 cards, and then it brings all the lands from your graveyard back into play. Not just the ones that you just milled, but like all of your lands. So if you've been building up over the course of the game with a bunch of like fetch lands and lands that like you, maybe like the channel lands from Kamigawa or any other land that you would like just sacrifice for effect, if it's in the graveyard, it's coming back into play. So like, let's say like you have like done some work with like the fetch lands, like any fetch lands that are in your graveyard are going to come back into play, and then you sacrifice them again to go get more lands out of your library. It's just more deck thinning, and it's getting more lands into place. This is a really good card. It's like, this is actually a card that I would play, and I'm not a big green player. Okay, and last on the list is this little fella right here. This is Mabel. Check that out. That's Mabel, Heir of Cragflame. It's a very cute little guy. So it's a 3/3 mouse soldier. And it says, other mice you control get +1/+1. When Mabel, Heir to Cragflame enters, create Cragflame, a legendary colorless equipment artifact token with equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has Vigilance, Trample, and Haste, and Equip 2. That's a lot. That is a lot, and this is in Boros colors. Boros players are going to love this guy. He's very, very cool. So that is Mabel, the Heir to Cragflame. Not too shabby, if you ask me. So that is it. Only thing I'm not really going over is like the Universes Beyond stuff today. So like there are some like Assassin's Creed stuff and some Fallout stuff, but I'm really not too interested in that. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that off the list for today. So that is it. I'm very interested to find out what you guys think about the new cards that were revealed, and what kind of decks that you think you're going to be putting these cards into specifically. Like Outlaws of Thunder Junction looks like a pretty cool set. I do like the Wild West cowboy theme of it, but I can't really say anything about like how good of a set it's going to be until we know what crimes are and we know what plot is. Like the major mechanics need to be defined for us before we can say yes or no, this is going to be good. Bloomburrow is so far out at this point that we really can't make a judgment call on that either. We're not going to be seeing that set until September. But Outlaws of Thunder Junction we're getting in April. That's only a couple months away, so we should probably expect to see a lot more of the of that set very, very soon. So that's it for now. Thank you very much for coming in and hanging out with me while I go over these cards. And Yeah, for now, that's going to be it. So, till next time, y'all take care of yourselves. Later.